Working with buyers as a real estate agent. If you're just starting off your journey as a licensed real estate agent, it's important to understand what the process is for helping someone out when it's time to buy a house. So what do you do next? In this video, I'm gonna cover that so that you know exactly what to do when you find a buyer who needs your help. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth in real estate, and I run an international real estate team at eXp Realty. If you get any value whatsoever out of this video, all I would ask is that you hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you in the time ahead. And with that being said, let's dive into the video. So there is a sequence of steps that you're going to want to follow to a T so that you have the highest amount of success helping a buyer navigate the process. Because worst case scenario is you find a buyer and you fumble and absolutely lose the opportunity. That can happen for a variety of ways, but the more closely you follow these steps in the process, the higher likelihood it is that when you come across a buyer that you will be the one to help them get to the finish line and ultimately achieve their goal of buying their next home. So first step is you want to set an appointment. So to set an appointment, you want to have two criteria met. You want to know what the buyer's timeline is and what their motivation is. Or in other words, how soon are they wanting to be in their next house and why do they want to make that happen? There should be some clarity in terms of both those things. Without clarity on both those things, it's likely that there's a lack of motivation and that they might not be serious about making it happen. And so you don't want to spin your wheels, waste your time, waste their time. So you want to get clear on what their timeline is and what their motivation is. And when you have those two pieces of info, you can begin the next steps of the process. And so your first order of business when you find that timeline and motivation is to set an appointment. It's very important. An appointment needs to be face to face. So it needs to be in person or on a Zoom call if they're not going to be in person. Those are your two options. It's not a phone call. It's not anything other than a face-to-face meeting. And it's very important because without that, you're going to miss some of the key things that you really need to set the groundwork on for this to be a positive experience for both the client and for yourself. And so what's the purpose of that appointment? Is it to go see houses? No. And to be clear, this should happen before you go see houses. You gotta be the professional here. It's up to you to dictate what happens next in the process. If you wanna be unprofessional about it, you let the client dictate what happens next in the process. So it's up to you to take control. It's up to you to establish next steps. But why do you need an appointment? Well, the reason you need an appointment is, for one, you wanna learn more about what it is they're looking for. This is your time to really dive into depth into the details of what would make a property that they would like to pursue and ultimately offer on. And sometimes that initial criteria will vary once they get their eyes on houses and get a better sense of what they like. But you want to be as crystal clear as possible going into things. That way you can best help them with that home search. Because some people are going to need more help with that than others. You know, there's people out there that are just going to be browsing homes all on their own. There's others that are going to rely a little bit more on you and setting up the proper search criteria. But regardless, you want to get crystal clear and get on the exact same page as far as what they're thinking and what they're looking for. So learn what they're looking for. The other reason to have an appointment is to set expectations. This is one of the most important things because this is your opportunity to lay the foundation of what to expect, both working with you as well as going through the home purchasing process. So if it's someone who's never bought a home before, there's a lot of things that maybe you seem obvious to you or someone who has been through the process that it might not be so obvious for that person. So for instance, some of the expectations you're gonna wanna set are what happens next throughout the process. Walk them through the home buying process, especially if they've never been through it before. What are the key steps? What needs to happen once you go under contract? And also, what kind of homes can you help them find? Because not everyone intuitively knows that you can help them with new builds or that you can help them with for sale by owners. You want to establish and make it abundantly clear that you're the first person that they contact for any home they're interested in. They're not going to call another broker. They're not going to call a number on a website they pull up. They're not going to go to a new home sales office without speaking to you first. And if you don't set that groundwork and expectation, honestly, you shouldn't be upset when they go buy a home without you, because you never even established that they were supposed to do a certain thing at a certain point. So this is your opportunity. This is so important. So set all the proper expectations and make sure that they know what happens next. And from there, establish next steps. That's the third reason you want to set an appointment, is to give clarity on what happens next. For anyone who has a bad experience with their real estate agent, it's almost always due to a breakdown in communication. So you having an appointment up front and being proactive in your communication, and if anything, over communicating what happens next, it's going to put the odds through the roof that this person has a positive experience working with you, and that's going to help you with actually getting future business in the process, because you want to be cognizant that every client you have the opportunity to work with today, that's going to help build your business with repeat and referral business in the future, provided that that person has a good experience. So if you want them to have the best experience possible, it's imperative that you have that initial buyer's consultation with them face to face, and that you walk through what I just shared with you as far as the purpose of the appointment, which leads me to the next key thing, which is, what do you want to bring to the appointment? Well, I'd say there's three things that you'll want to have prepared going into it. First, you want to have a buyer's presentation of some sort. And depending on who you talk to in this business, some people lean on this more heavily than others. Like on one extreme, there's people that don't even use one, and on the other, there's people that just have this very comprehensive packet prepared, which edifies them as someone who is reputable, who has experience, etc., etc. You may or may not have that going into things. So lean on what your brokerage brings to the table. Lean on what your team brings to the table if you're part of a team, whatever the case is. But I'd say it's good to have something. It doesn't need to be a ton of pages or anything, but at least a small packet, if anything, that establishes the company you're with, the reputation in the local community, anything about you that's relevant as someone who is a knowledgeable professional in the local market. All that would be helpful. And beyond that, you want to also have your broker documents ready, like the representation forms you need in order to have someone as an actual client. Because until you have that agreement in place, you don't effectively have a client. They're not your client if the signed agreement's not in place. You can put that on your broker. This is a part of what needs to happen next. And here's the key with this. I know there's a lot of realtors out there that shy away from getting these signed up front, but honestly, if you go through the process correctly and review the criteria, the next steps, set the ground rules and expectations as far as how you work and what to expect as far as the next steps in the process, answer any questions they have. At the end of it, you can ask them, hey, so are you ready to move forward with the next steps and begin the search for your next home? They're going to say yes if they're serious. And the immediate next step is, okay, well, let's go ahead and knock these out so that we can get started in the process. And that's your broker doc. So if there's any feedback, hey, I get it. Here's the thing, my broker needs to have these on file for us to begin to go to work for you. And you can give reassurance that, hey, provided that you don't want an unhappy, disgruntled client, you can let them know, like, hey, I'm not here to lock you into something in which I'm not performing. If there's ever a point in the process where you feel I am not doing my part as far as what you were expecting or what we agreed to here, I want you to call me. Let's talk about it. If we can't come to terms with it, I'm happy to completely disregard this agreement. And that's on you to follow through. If you do that, you're going to assure that your time is well spent by people that are serious enough to commit to taking that next step forward than winging it all the way up until someone's ready to put in an offer. Because there's a big chance, if you're winging it, that you're going to lose people here and there, and they never really made a firm commitment to working with you in the first place. So like, if you have a bunch of clients and opportunities, is your time better spent with the ones that have made a firm commitment to working with you, or those who you're just winging it with? Because if you got people who made a firm commitment, you owe your time to them. They're committed to putting their best foot forward working with you. Why would you spend equal time with people who haven't made that commitment? So you got to start thinking in terms of abundance, in terms of, hey, you're building a client base and you want to have as many people in your pipeline as possible who have made a firm commitment That way you can spend your time in the most valuable way. And so broker docs is the second thing. And the third thing is a blank contract. Bring a blank contract. It's going to help depending on the situation, especially if someone's never been through the process before. You can break down the key elements of an offer, and really there's a handful of things that really comprise an offer as far as price, terms, contingencies, stuff like that. But you can review some of those key things and really simplify and break down the process. That way, when it's time to put an offer, they know what the key things are that y'all will be discussing in terms of formalizing that contract and getting it submitted. But doing all this up front, it's going to save you time on the back end. It's going to create a better experience for your clients, and it's going to lead to more of the leads that you're generating, ultimately getting to the closing table if you're following this step in the process. And this is what a professional does. A professional doesn't wing it. They are filtering leads into the ones that have a timeline and motivation where it makes sense to move forward on next steps, and they're setting the next steps and dictating what happens next in the process. And the people that are serious and committed will follow that process because they want to achieve the goal of getting into their next home, and we're here to help them do that. And last thing I'd say is dialogue. You know, I'm not going to give you a script. I think the worst thing you can do going into this is have a script that and be so focused on the script that you're not even listening to what they're saying. The bigger key is knowing, hey, why do we need to set an appointment? What do we need to have prepared for the appointment? And then from there on out, just go into it with confidence and genuinely listen to what it is they're saying and needing, and just be present for that conversation and seek to help. Don't feel like you got too much pressure on you. If you just make it a bigger priority to genuinely connect with this person, to help them, to serve them, and to seek out answers to solve any problem they bring your way. I mean, you don't got to know all the answers when something comes to you, but always be willing to go find it and let them know. If you don't know the answer, say, hey, that's a great question. I'm going to check on that with you, and we'll get back with you later today. We'll get back with you tomorrow. Does that sound reasonable? People are going to say yeah, so go with it. But that's how you get started working with buyers, what to do next when you find an opportunity to help someone get the next steps in motion towards buying their next home. And let me tell you this, by the way. If you're in the business, I don't care how long you've been in the business, whether it's been a couple months, a couple years, maybe it's been a lot longer, but regardless, if up to this point you have felt like you've been on your own, kind of been on an island trying to get the help you need when you need it, and you're resorting to YouTube to find this information out, I just put it on your mind that I help facilitate local mentorship for real estate agents all across the map. And I really am passionate about helping people build their incomes and careers in real estate. And my goal at this point is to help as many people as possible that are truly serious and committed to this business and building something and serving others in the process to take their incomes to six figures and beyond. And I've helped quite a few people do that up to this point, and my goal is to keep adding to it. So if there is anything that I can potentially do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and send me an email. Let me know where you're at in the business, what you've achieved up to this point, and where you're trying to get from here on out. And I will get back to you and see how I can add value to help you get to that next goal and ultimately get more of what you need in order to get there, whether it's local mentorship, whether it's just more clarity on how you actually build your production-based business. If you're serious and committed to it, I'm here to help and serve you. And if you got value out of this video, all I'd ask is that you subscribe. That way I can continue to share more tips and resources with you in the time ahead. That being said, thank you so much for watching the video. Until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.